What's up, everybody? Kevin here, and I'm really excited to announce the newest massive update for the Domination station. As you guys know, I'm pretty much nonstop updating this thing, making it better, working on various projects. So this is one of the bigger ones. We've had this kind of in the beta server for a little while now, and I wanted to actually do a little video to go over all of the new features that we've added. I'll start with the more basic. Hopefully I can remember all of them. My goodness, a lot of stuff going on here. But I'm going to go over the more basic ones and then get into the more advanced stuff. So, first addition in this latest update is adding in a setting to push your flex players or push the most expensive player on Draftkings into the flex. So, basically, force player from the last game to the flex. What this will do, or what it should do, and hopefully it works, is, because it works, I haven't tested anything live. It's happening live right now. So let's see if these are night games. This slate doesn't work. Main, let's try this one. So typically what's supposed to happen here when we use this force player from the last game to the flex is whatever player is in your lineup that is flex eligible, which isn't necessarily always 100% going to be someone from the last game. We don't know. But whoever's flex eligible should be pushed into the last, that's playing on the last game in the slate, should be pushed into the flex. So let's see. Toronto, Memphis. Let's just look. Toronto, 8 p.m. Toronto, 8 p.m. Memphis, 8 p.m. So probably in that lineup there are no players from Portland or Miami. We're going to test it and show you by adding some Portland or Miami players to this mix. And let's see if we can do that. Let's adore him. Let's find some more players because I just want to show you the test of how this works. Here's a Portland player. Let's adore him. I just need to find Portland and Miami players and adore enough of them to make sure that some of them will show up. Miami, here we go. I'm just going to adore a bunch of these guys just to show how that works. And if we click that, hopefully, yeah, Portland. So it should push the most expensive player in your lineup in the latest possible game into the flex position. We allow you to uncheck that button. I suggest always having it checked. There is never a time when you shouldn't do that. Always have it checked off. So that's feature number one. Simple one. Feature number two, fantasy draft. What? We got it. We are now able to make lineups for fantasy draft on the live server. DFS and Donuts is the fantasy draft whisperer. I think he's won these tournaments or coming to the top 10 like every day for the past 2 weeks. It's ridiculous. He's putting out a play sheet for fantasy draft most days, but in general, now we can lineup optimize. You can quickly check the value plays on fantasy draft and see who's popping. So really excited about that. And the biggest addition today is to Fanduel, the Dropscore format. Of course, we just build it. They'll probably get rid of it soon enough. But here's how it works. And this was the more complicated part of the build. Couple of components to it. Number one is a force punt. So now you as a player can choose to force a punt of as many players up to 3 as you want. That must be, and you can type in the dollar amount. And the reason I set this not to 3,500 but rather allow you to use it is because, again, sometimes, let's say there's a extreme value play or two, but they're not 3,500, they're 3,800 and 3,900, right? So if I say force 2 players, 3,900 or less in salary, and we'll try that first, right? And typically what's supposed to happen here, let's just look at 10 lineups so we can get a good feel, is there will be at least 2 players 3,800 or less in every lineup, and most likely it's those 2 guys who were popping as value plays. So you'll see them to 100%. Right, there it is. Not surprising. Now, here's where it gets interesting. We have a second feature. Now you can do 3 players that price or less. So let's say you think those 2 guys are not just like drop score turds, but actually viable plays, and you want a third one in the mix because you think these 2 will crush. You know, this will now force a third guy in, so now you see it's grabbing these turds. Typically, guys, I don't play this way. I would not allow a turd in my lineup like that, but there are times when the slate demands this sort of an approach. So where there are multiple like really good value plays, like yesterday if you had Plumlee or Mills, there were a couple of plays that were good that we don't really want to use as drop scores. We just want to use them and use their scores. So then you might want to add a third one. That's what that feature does. Now the second feature, and this is really interesting, and let's turn this back down to 1, but to drop the lowest score, and then there's a third component to it. If you click on drop the lowest score, what will happen is it will X out the lowest score and show you the post drop score total. Now in cash games, I think this is fairly important because I don't know where it's important, but it's a cool feature to have. So in essence, in this situation, you could see the lineup, what it would look like because FanDuel drops the score with the score drop, like what the total comes out to. And then even better, you can sort by the drop score total rather than the total of the entire lineup, because there is a theory that says that the highest drop score is actually the optimal lineup. Again, I'm not fully convinced, but this allows you to play how you want. You can see the scores without having... Here, this is an interesting one. So if you look, when you sort by drop score, okay, so this would have been the top lineup anyway, as of the projections right now. But if you look at these other 3, and this is where it gets interesting, you'll note that these 2 are drop score higher than this one, but this one is higher DFS Army points. So if I don't have it sorted by drop score, this one would show up as the number 2. But when you do that, when you do sort by drop score, this one shows up as the number 2. I also think it's fascinating that this lineup, even with a $3,800 Gilchrist, is dropping a $4,600 Augustine. This is part of the reason why you want to use sometimes more than one drop under 3,900. Now you could force in 2, and maybe these totals will actually be a little bit higher in some situations, although they aren't. But in some situations, maybe they are, but certainly not the top one. So anyway, that is it for the updates for today. I'm trying to think if we did anything else, but that's it for the most part. So remember, very important, you have to clear your cache. Some of the stuff will not show up if you leave your cache stuff going. We have a ton of items, and let me just go through a couple of these. What's next? So as we are finishing that up, we have a pretty big to-do list. We're going to be working on the algorithm speed next. We have that mostly built, and that'll be hopefully the next release. I'm going to look at some different, more powerful optimization methodologies. Let's see, reload settings. So we're going to try to set it up so you could save your settings. We're going to try to set it up so that you can do an optimization, stop at one point, do 50 more lineups with slightly different settings, but not have to redo the entire thing. We're going to be adding in just a lot of cool stuff coming up in the future. We're going to be adding in like markers for the health of the player and as they're changing, because we get this data, so we should really be showing it live on the screen. We're going to be getting in player cards, so where you can click on the player and see their game logs. Basically, the idea is to narrow down how much you have to look at and how many screens you need. We're going to try to get it simplified as much as possible. A lot of cool stuff going on. Backtesting function we're working on, so the next day you can go back and mess around with it and see the results of your optimizations and see it with the actual results of the slate and see what you could have done differently. It's a great way to learn how to mass multi-enter and just how to really work the tool in the best possible way with the best possible results. So lots of stuff coming up and a really great update in today. Check it out. Give it a try. I think you guys are going to be excited. Let's have a profitable day, guys.